Have you ever wondered why some people seem to rise higher every time they oppose you? Why every betrayal makes them stronger? Every conflict leaves them with more influence. And every battle ends with you losing more than you expected. What if I told you that your enemies may not be defeating you at all? What if, without realizing it, you are the one feeding their power? Machiavelli understood a truth that most people never learn. Your enemies rarely become strong on their own. More often, they become strong because of the mistakes you make around them. And the most dangerous part? Most of these mistakes feel like the right thing to do. Today, you will discover the hidden behaviors that secretly empower your enemies, and how to stop making them before it's too late. Because once you see these patterns, you'll never look at conflict the same way again. Before we begin, I want you to do something simple. Write this affirmation in the comments. I protect my power by mastering my actions. Not because words are magical, but because power begins with awareness. The moment you become conscious of your own mistakes, you stop being manipulated by them. And stay until the end. Because the final mistake is the one most intelligent people make, and it often creates the strongest enemies of all. Mistake number 1. Revealing your entire strategy. One of the greatest misconceptions about strength is the belief that confidence requires complete transparency. Many people feel compelled to explain themselves, reveal their intentions, and share every detail of their plans with others. They announce their goals before achieving them, discuss their next moves before making them, and seek validation by making their ambitions visible. What they fail to realize is that every piece of information they reveal becomes a tool that can be used against them. Machiavelli understood that power often depends not on what people know about you, but on what they do not know. The moment your enemy understands your intentions, they gain something invaluable: time. Time to prepare, time to adapt, and time to build obstacles in your path before you even begin moving forward. Human psychology is deeply affected by uncertainty. People become cautious when they cannot predict what will happen next. An opponent who is unsure of your plans is forced to waste energy analyzing possibilities, second-guessing decisions, and preparing for outcomes that may never occur. But once your strategy is exposed, uncertainty disappears. Your enemy no longer has to guess. They can focus all of their attention on countering your actions with precision. This is why some of the most successful individuals appear mysterious. They do not reveal every thought, every objective, or every advantage they possess. They understand that silence creates leverage. The less your enemies know, the more difficult it becomes for them to interfere with your progress. Power often grows quietly, long before anyone notices its presence. Mistake number 2. Trying to win every argument. Most people believe that winning means proving they are right. They feel compelled to defend every opinion, answer every criticism, and respond to every challenge that comes their way. At first glance, this seems like strength. After all, who wants to appear weak, defeated, or unable to defend themselves? Yet, Machiavelli understood a deeper truth. Being right and being powerful are not always the same thing. Many people become so obsessed with winning arguments that they lose sight of their actual goals. They waste time, energy, and attention fighting battles that produce no meaningful advantage. Every argument has a cost. The more you engage with someone, the more significance you give them. Attention is one of the most valuable forms of power because it determines who people notice and who they ignore. When you constantly respond to critics, rivals, and provocateurs, you elevate their importance. You turn minor opponents into worthy adversaries and give them a platform they may never have earned on their own. In many cases, your reaction becomes more valuable to them than the original conflict itself. Psychologically, people often argue not to discover the truth, but to provoke an emotional response. They want your attention, your frustration, and your time. The moment you become emotionally invested, they have already succeeded in influencing your behavior. This is why truly powerful individuals are selective about what deserves a response. They understand that silence can be more intimidating than retaliation. Ignoring a pointless conflict often communicates confidence, while constantly defending yourself can signal insecurity. Strategic people focus on outcomes, not ego. They know that the goal is not to win every argument. It is to win in life. Sometimes the strongest move is refusing to play a game that offers no reward. Mistake number 3. Underestimating small enemies. History is filled with powerful individuals who were not defeated by great rivals, but by opponents they dismissed as insignificant. One of the most dangerous mistakes a person can make is assuming that a threat is harmless simply because it appears small in the present moment. Machiavelli understood that power is rarely static. People grow, circumstances change, and opportunities can transform an overlooked adversary into a serious challenge. Yet human nature often causes us to focus only on obvious dangers while ignoring the quiet ones developing in the background. A jealous colleague, a resentful acquaintance, a competitor with limited influence, or someone who feels underestimated can gradually accumulate resources, knowledge, and alliances. Because they seem weak at first, they are often given the freedom to operate unnoticed. This creates a dangerous illusion of safety. While attention remains fixed on larger and more visible threats, smaller enemies are allowed to grow without resistance. By the time their influence becomes obvious, they may already possess the connections and opportunities necessary to challenge you effectively. Psychologically, people tend to judge others by their current status rather than their future potential. This bias leads many to underestimate individuals who lack power today but possess determination, patience, or ambition. Some of the most dangerous opponents are not those who appear strong, but those who are quietly improving while everyone else ignores them. They learn from setbacks, observe weaknesses, and wait for the right moment to act. This does not mean living in constant suspicion of everyone around you. It means developing awareness. Wise people understand that every threat begins small. They do not measure an enemy solely by what that person is today. They also consider what that person could become tomorrow. By respecting even minor threats, you avoid giving them the time and space needed to grow into major problems. In strategy, prevention is often far easier than recovery. Mistake number 4, letting emotions control your decisions. Many people assume that intelligence alone protects them from failure. They believe that because they are knowledgeable, capable, or experienced, they will naturally make the right decisions when faced with conflict. Yet some of the greatest mistakes in history were not caused by a lack of intelligence, but by a lack of emotional control. Machiavelli understood that emotions can become invisible chains, limiting judgment and pushing people toward decisions they later regret. Anger, pride, fear, jealousy, and the desire for revenge often feel powerful in the moment, but they rarely serve long-term interests. An enemy does not always need to overpower you physically or intellectually. Sometimes all they need to do is provoke a reaction. The moment someone can predict your emotions, they gain insight into your behavior. If they know what makes you angry, they know how to distract you. If they know what triggers your pride, they know how to manipulate your decisions. If they know what you fear, they know where to apply pressure. Emotional reactions reveal information, and information is one of the most valuable forms of power. This is why strategic individuals rarely make important decisions in moments of intense emotion. Anger narrows perception and creates impulsive actions. Fear exaggerates risks and encourages hesitation. Pride convinces people to ignore advice and overestimate their abilities. Revenge shifts focus away from meaningful goals and toward temporary satisfaction. In each case, emotions begin dictating behavior instead of supporting sound judgment. True strength is not the absence of emotion, but the ability to remain in control of it. Calmness creates clarity. It allows you to observe situations objectively, recognize hidden motives, and respond deliberately rather than impulsively. While others become consumed by frustration or panic, the person who remains composed gains a significant advantage. They see opportunities that emotional people overlook and avoid traps that emotional people rush into. In the end, self-mastery is often more valuable than mastering any opponent, because the person who controls their emotions is far more difficult to control by anyone else. Mistake number 5. Seeking fairness in an unfair game. One of the most painful lessons a person can learn is that not everyone operates according to the same principles. Many people move through life assuming that others value honesty, loyalty, gratitude, and fairness in the same way they do. They believe that if they treat others well, they will receive the same treatment in return. While this belief can create meaningful relationships with trustworthy people, it can also become a serious weakness when applied indiscriminately. Machiavelli observed human nature as it is, not as people wished it to be. He understood that many conflicts arise because individuals expect fairness from people who are motivated primarily by self-interest. The danger lies in confusing your values with reality. When you assume everyone will play by the same rules, you lower your guard. You overlook warning signs, ignore questionable behavior, and give trust where caution would be wiser. Meanwhile, those who are focused solely on gaining advantage are not restricted by the expectations you have placed upon them. They are playing a different game entirely, one that rewards awareness rather than idealism. Psychologically, people often see the world through the lens of their own character. Honest individuals tend to expect honesty. Loyal individuals expect loyalty. Ethical individuals expect others to respect similar boundaries. This natural tendency can make betrayal especially shocking because it comes from a failure to recognize that different people operate according to different incentives. The disappointment is often not caused by the other person's actions alone, but by the unrealistic expectations attached to them. Understanding this does not require becoming cynical, cruel, or distrustful of everyone around you. It simply requires seeing people clearly. You can remain ethical without being naive. You can be generous without becoming vulnerable to exploitation. You can be kind while still protecting your interests. True wisdom comes from balancing principles with awareness. The strongest individuals do not abandon their values, but they refuse to let those values blind them to reality. They understand that fairness is admirable, yet strategy begins with recognizing the world as it truly is, not as they wish it would be. Mistake number 6. Showing every strength you possess. Many people believe that power must be displayed to be respected. They feel the need to constantly prove their intelligence, showcase their achievements, reveal their connections, and demonstrate every capability they possess. They assume that the more others know about their strengths, the more influence they will gain. Yet, Machiavelli understood a principle that many overlook. Visible power attracts attention, but hidden power creates uncertainty. And uncertainty can be far more intimidating than anything openly displayed. When people know exactly what you are capable of, They can begin calculating how to deal with you. They can study your methods, anticipate your behavior, and prepare defenses against your strengths. In a strange way, revealing everything about yourself makes you more predictable. Your advantages become easier to measure, and what can be measured can often be challenged. An opponent who fully understands your resources knows exactly where your limits are. But an opponent who cannot accurately assess your capabilities is forced to proceed with caution. Human psychology is deeply influenced by the unknown. People naturally imagine possibilities that are often greater than reality itself. When information is limited, uncertainty fills the gap. This uncertainty can create hesitation, and hesitation creates opportunities. The less your enemies know about your full potential, the more difficult it becomes for them to formulate effective strategies against you. They waste energy guessing instead of acting with confidence. This does not mean pretending to be weak or hiding every achievement. Rather, it means understanding the value of restraint. Not every strength needs to be announced. Not every resource needs to be revealed. Not every advantage needs to be displayed for others to see. Some of the most influential individuals appear modest on the surface, while quietly accumulating knowledge, relationships, and opportunities behind the scenes. Their power is effective precisely because it is not fully visible. The strongest person in the room is often not the loudest, the most boastful, or the most eager to impress. It is often the individual who reveals only what is necessary and keeps the rest in reserve. By maintaining a degree of mystery, they preserve flexibility, create uncertainty in the minds of others, and ensure that their greatest advantages remain protected until the moment they are truly needed. Mistake number 7: creating enemies through your ego. Of all the mistakes people make, few are as destructive and unnecessary as creating enemies through ego. Many conflicts that consume years of energy, attention, and emotional investment never needed to exist in the first place. They begin with something small: a need to prove superiority, a desire to have the last word, an inability to tolerate disagreement, or the temptation to humiliate someone who appears weaker. In the moment, these actions may feel satisfying. They feed pride and create a temporary sense of victory. But Machiavelli understood that every enemy carries a cost, even when you believe you have won. Human beings rarely forget humiliation. People can forgive mistakes, misunderstandings, and even certain acts of hostility. But public embarrassment often leaves a lasting wound. When someone feels disrespected, dismissed, or intentionally diminished, they may become motivated in ways that logic alone cannot explain. What was once a neutral person can become a determined opponent. What was once a minor disagreement can evolve into a long-term rivalry. The ego often blinds people to these consequences because it focuses on immediate gratification rather than future outcomes. Psychologically, pride creates an illusion of strength while often producing strategic weakness. It convinces people that every challenge must be answered, every insult must be punished, and every disagreement must become a contest. Yet, the truly powerful understand that not every battle deserves their attention. They recognize that influence is not measured by how many people they defeat, but by how effectively they achieve their objectives. Machiavelli observed that wise leaders avoided creating unnecessary enemies because they understood the value of preserving resources. Every conflict requires time, focus, and energy. Even victorious battles consume assets that could have been directed toward more important goals. Strategic individuals choose their confrontations carefully. They know when to act, when to ignore, and when to walk away entirely. The greatest display of strength is often not domination, but restraint. It is the ability to control the impulse to prove yourself when no proof is required. It is the discipline to protect your long-term interests instead of satisfying a momentary desire for validation. While ego seeks victory in every encounter, wisdom seeks advantage. And those who learn the difference rarely find themselves surrounded by enemies they created with their own hands. Machiavelli's teachings are often misunderstood. Many people assume his philosophy was simply about manipulation, ruthless ambition, or defeating opponents at any cost. In reality, one of his most valuable lessons was about understanding consequences. He recognized that power is not lost only through the actions of enemies. It is often weakened by our own mistakes. Time and again, people unknowingly create the very problems they later struggle to overcome. They reveal too much, react too quickly, underestimate threats, allow emotions to guide decisions, expect fairness from everyone, display every advantage they possess, or let their ego create conflicts that never needed to exist. The common thread connecting all of these mistakes is a lack of awareness. Most people focus on what others are doing while ignoring the ways they contribute to their own vulnerability. Yet true strength begins with self-observation. The moment you recognize the patterns that weaken your position, you gain the ability to change them. Strategy starts long before a conflict occurs. It begins in your habits, your decisions, and the way you respond to challenges each day. And now, as this journey comes to an end, remember one final truth that Machiavelli understood better than most. The greatest threats in life are rarely the ones standing openly before us. More often, they emerge quietly through overlooked habits, unconscious decisions, and moments of weakness we fail to recognize. The enemy outside is dangerous, but the enemy within, impulsiveness, pride, naivety, and lack of self-control, can be far more destructive. Every lesson you have heard today points toward a single principle. Power begins with self-mastery. The ability to control what you reveal, govern your emotions, choose your battles wisely, and see reality clearly gives you an advantage that no rival can easily take away. While others become consumed by conflict, you learn to rise above it. While others react, you observe. While others expose themselves through impatience and ego, you move with purpose and restraint. The world will always contain competition, ambition, and opposition. There will always be people who challenge you, doubt you, or seek to benefit at your expense. You cannot control their actions, but you can control your response. And in many cases, that response determines whether an enemy grows stronger or remains powerless. So carry these lessons with you. Let them shape the way you think, act, and navigate the challenges ahead. Not so you can dominate others, but so you can avoid the mistakes that quietly undermine your own position. Because those who understand themselves become difficult to manipulate, difficult to provoke, and difficult to defeat. Before you leave, write this final affirmation in the comments. My greatest power is self-mastery. And remember, the person who masters their own mind has already won a battle that many people spend their entire lives losing.